Hi, and welcome to Introduction to Indoor Rowing. In this video, I'm going to teach you the different parts of the rowing machine, and I'm going to also teach you the fundamental rowing technique, the basic parts of how to row and how to practice rowing to improve your technique. Rowing is a highly technical sport, and when you do it right, you can go really fast, you can burn a lot of calories, it's very low impact on your knees, and it can be a very high intensity workout cardio-aerobically, okay? So it's a great alternative to people who have been running and no longer feel comfortable running because it hurts their knees or hurts their back. But at the same time, you have to know how to row properly so that you prevent injury even on the rowing machine. Bad form equals bad movement, which can cause injury and pain, okay? Good form, good movement, and everything should run smoothly. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is up here at the front. This is your flywheel. Your flywheel is controlled by your damper, which is this little piece that slides up and down, and we'll talk more about that in a second. Next, we have your monitor, handle hook, of course your seat, which operates on your monorail. Okay, so those are your main parts to the rowing machine. And let's go back up here and talk about the damper, which is this little sliding motion, okay? It goes from down here from a 1 up here to a 10. Now, the damper does not control the type of workout you're going to have, okay? You actually are going to be in control of your workout. The damper controls the amount of air that's being allowed into the flywheel, okay? So basically, it determines the type of boat that you're pulling, okay? The lower the damper, down here, the lighter the boat. So up here at a 10, it's described as pulling, as rowing a big, heavy wooden fishing boat full of fish, okay? So if you want to pull a very heavy boat, you're going to be up here at 10. Now, if you know anything about water rowing, they say that the damper between a 3 and a 5 best represents what it would feel like to row on water in a rowing boat, okay, in a racing shell, okay? They're kind of sleek. They don't sit real deep in the water, okay, so they glide. So between a 3 and a 5 is where you want to be to have that nice lighter boat, as if you're pulling a racing shell in water, okay? So again, all this says is control the weight of your boat that you're pulling, all right? So after you've rowed for a little while and you've tested different types of the numbers that you like, I personally like to row at a 5. That's where I feel the most comfortable. I've done some classes where we start low and we take a rest, and every rest we work our way up and figure out the boat that you like to pull. A lot of beginner rowers actually like this heavier boat because what happens when you allow the air into the flywheel, when you pull that handle, the flywheel starts to rotate, okay? And so on a lighter boat, when you pull it, it rotates, and then it doesn't slow down very quickly, okay? And so every time you go into your next catch for your next row, it's still spinning, right? And you have to catch into that. On a heavier boat, you pull it, it goes woo, and then it slows down very quickly. And so it's a little bit easier on beginner rowers to kind of feel that where they're not trying to catch up with the flywheel going very fast. So play around with the damper, discover which damper setting you like for the boat you like to pull. Again, I personally prefer a 5. All right, so I'm short, so before I even sit down on the rowing machine, I'm going to pull my chain into the chain hook here, okay? And also, for safety, I'm wearing a little bit longer shirt today. And if I'm not real careful, my shirt could come down and get stuck in my wheel. And so I'm actually going to tuck my longer shirt in for safety reasons today, okay? So the safest way to get on the rowing machine is to walk back here to the back, and then I'm going to walk myself down to sit on my seat. Okay, that's the safest way. When you're tired at the end of the rowing, the safest way to get off of this is to stand up and to walk backwards and safely get off. Now, could you just lift your leg up and over? Of course you could. But at the end of a rowing, however long you rowed, your legs might be a little tired. And I actually had this happen in a class one day. Gentleman got off his rower and his toe caught the side. Thankfully, he was near a wall and the wall caught him before he fell. Okay, so the safest way, come down to the end here and walk down. Okay, now I've already got my chain here. My monitor is where I can see it. I've got my damper set at 5 before I sat down because I'm short. Once I get strapped in, I'm not going to be able to reach all these things. Now, for placing your foot on your foot pedal, before I even strap in, I want the ball of my foot to rest on the little rest plate here, okay? So if I had this a lot lower, it would be just the tips of my toes. Or if I had it too high, which my feet are short, so it can't go much higher for me, you know, I don't want the middle of my foot, the arch of my foot sitting up there. So aim for the ball of your foot to sit on the foot pads, okay? And we are going to go ahead and get strapped in. But before we even go any further, I'm going to go ahead and show you the safest way, the easiest way to get out of the strap. So if I'm strapped in, I'm going to take my thumbs and I'm going to push down on the strap holder, and as I do, I'm going to lift my toes, all right? Then I'm going to slide my foot up and out, and slide my foot up and out, and now I'm ready to safely get off of the machine when I'm done. So keep that in mind, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get strapped back in. Now, there are 4 main parts to a rowing sequence. The first is your catch, the second is the drive, third is the finish, and fourth, we recover, okay? So I'm going to teach you now all the different parts. The catch is the beginning. So in my catch, I'm going to go ahead and take my handle. My legs should never be more than perpendicular to the floor, okay? So ideally, I mean, I want them perfectly perpendicular. I don't want them, my knees over. See how now they're not perpendicular? So I have to lift my heels to do that. So legs perpendicular to the floor. My arms are down and relaxed. Shoulders are also relaxed. And if you see, my shoulders are in front of my hips. I'm not starting straight up. Nope. I start in a little bit forward motion with my shoulders in front of my hips, knees perpendicular to the floor. Now, if you have really tight hamstrings and you can't get into this position, you could lower your footrest 1 notch, and that might be a little bit more comfortable for you. So I'm sitting up nice and tall, heels down, shoulders in front of the hips. This is my catch, okay? Next, my drive. The drive is next, and this is your legs. That's where I'm going to push with my full foot onto the foot pedal and extend my legs, okay? This is the drive. From here, my shoulders were still in front of my hips, and when you're moving, it happens, of course, a lot faster. But I go from this one, if you imagine a clock above my head where this is noon, and this would be 11 o'clock, and then I'm going to hip hinge back here to 1 o'clock. All right, so now I'm leaning back. I'm not way back here, still sitting up nice and tall. I'm just a little beyond straight up. Then my arms are still here. I'm going to pull my arms in, have a nice neutral wrist, shoulders down, shoulders are back, and this is my finish. Okay, so the finish position, I am pushing with my full foot. I'm trying to point my toes towards the flywheel, okay? And like I said, nice neutral wrist. I don't have chicken wings. My elbows are tight, or not way out here. I haven't pulled this to my chest. Some people aim for their belly button. My belly button sits a little high, so I'm a little below my belly button actually. This would be my belly button and that would be too high for me. So nice, comfortable, I'm in my finish. From the finish, I'm going to straighten my arms, and then I'm going to hip hinge back to where I bring my shoulders in front of my hips. My hands are out over my shins, my arms are straight. I've created a beautiful box here. Okay, so now I am ready to recover and slide my knees up into this box, and I'm back into my catch. Okay, so I haven't done this in a while. Got a little cramp here, sorry. So like hip hinge, back, recover, I'm back into my catch. Okay, so that is your sequence. Catch, drive, finish, recover. Okay, now I'm going to teach you a little drill that I use as a warm-up and that you can also use to help hone in on each one of these. Okay, so we're going to start back here in the finish with arms in. I'm going to start with arms only rowing. Okay, and this drill is called a pick drill. You can look it up. You can look for other people who teach it as well. So I'm leaning back, sitting up tall, my core is engaged. I'm going to straighten and pull. So just a nice little arms only rowing. I'm going to do this for about 25 seconds, 25 or a little bit more, 25 to 30 in my warm up. But right now, when I'm teaching my body to come back into this finish at 1 o'clock, okay? I'm not rounding my shoulders. I am simply tapping and go. Tap, go. Tap, go. Tap, go. Couple more. Tap, go. Last one. Tap, go. From here, I'm going to start to add my hip hinge right there. So now I'm going to hip hinge to 1. Tap, go. 11. Tap, go. 11. Hip hinge, tap, go, hip hinge forward. Remember, 60% of your power is going to come from your legs in the rowing sequence, and 30% of your power is going to come from this perfect hip hinge. I'm keeping my back nice and flat, not reaching forward with my shoulders. Okay, I'm not trying to reach here to try to get the handle closer to the handle box. Nope. Want to stay nice and tall. Okay, and tap, go, hinge, tap, go, hinge. One more. Tap, go, hinge. Now, next, we're going to start to add the legs now. We're going to move up the monorail with a quarter slide, a half slide, a 3/4 slide, and then finally into our catch. Okay. Again, this is still part of warming up. So. Tap, go, hinge, quarter slide. So I drive, hinge, tap, go, hinge, quarter slide, and tap, go, hinge, quarter slide, tap, go, hinge, quarter slide, tap, go, hinge, quarter slide. As I hinge forward, I feel a nice stretch in my hamstrings right there, quarter slide. Tap, go, hinge, quarter. We're going to do 3 more of these. Tap, go, hinge, quarter slide. Tap, go, hinge, quarter. Last one. Then we're going to go into our half slide and quarter. Next is going to be our half slide. Tap, go, hinge, half slide. Tap, go, hinge, half slide. Tap, go, hinge, half slide. Good. Let's do a few more. Tap, go, hinge, half slide. Tap, go, hinge, half slide. Last one. Then we're going to go to 3/4. Tap, go, hinge, half. Let's now 3/4 slide on this one. 3/4. go, hinge, 3/4. Tap, go, hinge, 3/4. You want to make sure those arms get out in front of you and that you're hinged before your knees ever bend. Tap, go, hinge, 3/4 slide, good. Tap, go, hinge, 3/4. 2 more, we'll go to our full slide. Try not to pull on that chain too soon. Remember, only 10% arms. You're gonna fully hip hinge before you ever bend those knees up into that box. 1 more. Now let's go into our full catch. Tap, go, hinge, full catch. Tap, go, hinge, full. Tap, go, hinge, full slide. Tap, go, hinge, full slide. Couple more. Tap, go, hinge, full. Last one. Tap, go, hinge, full slide. Nice job. So some common mistakes that new rowers make is that they don't start in their catch. Okay, some people start straight up here and then they stay there. They row right here the whole time. They do absolutely 0 hip hinge. See it a lot, okay? When you take out the hip hinge, you're losing 30% of your power, okay? So that hip hinge is very important. Another thing that people tend to do is they overreach. They try to reach really far and then they start with this round back. And if I pull from this round back and then I have to sit up, that's when a back injury can occur. So I want to keep my core very engaged and I want the movement to come from the hips, not the shoulders, okay? Not even going to demonstrate it because it can be that bad, okay? So don't start with round shoulders. Don't nice and tall the entire time, okay? Don't reach. It's no good. And then if you get back here and you start to bend before you've hip hinged, or you hip hinge while you're going, and then you see my shoulders are all out of whack because this is an early knee bend, okay? So you don't want to bend your knees until you've done this hip hinge and you create, if you look out in front of you, you've created a box for your knees to just slide up into, okay? So you got to create the box before you row. I mean, otherwise you can see my knees are almost getting in the way of my hands and I have no hip hinge, okay? So you don't want to, also you don't want to hip hinge too soon, pull the arms before the legs get a lot straighter. So practicing that drill, making it very choppy, and your row might feel a little choppy in the beginning, and that's good. I want you to repeat those things. So catch, drive, tap, go, hinge, bend. Tap, go, hinge, bend. I don't know how many times I've said that repetitively when I teach, when I've taught my classes, okay? So go ahead and put this and let myself out. Let's talk about the monitor for just a second. So I have my screen. There's all kinds of different displays, but the one that I like the most when I'm teaching, in the beginning especially, it has a time at the top, and then the next line has a time /500. That is your split time, okay? That is how quickly you personally are going to row 500 meters. And that number comes about by the amount of power you're using in your legs. And so the more legs you're able to use, the lower your split time number is going to be, which means that you're using more power. And I think I've already mentioned 60% of the power of your row comes from your legs, and that is shown in your split time. So the lower your split time, the faster your row, obviously, the more power you're using with your legs, okay? The next line, you can change it. Right now mine is on meters. If I change the units, I can look at my average split time, and then the next screen is watts. and then I have calories per hour and calories. So if you're someone coming from the cycling world, you might like the watts screen. I personally prefer the split time screen with the /500. Then in my bottom corner, in the bottom left-hand corner, I have this little number and then an S per M. That is your strokes per minute. And that is actually determined by how quickly you are hip hinging and pulling on that chain, okay? So ideally, when you're beginning rowing, you want to aim for about maybe 22, 24, possibly 25 strokes per minute. Rarely ever do you need to be above 30 strokes per minute unless you're just doing a full out sprint. That number is not determining your power. Again, that goes back to your legs, and your split time is with your power. Only 10% of your power should come from your arms. So your strokes per minute don't have to be exceedingly high, okay? Especially if you've lost your form. It really is just how fast you're hip hinging, you're tapping and going and hip hinging, okay? Not how quickly you're pushing with your legs. But let's talk about that a second. So your drive should be twice as fast as your recovery, okay? So we should be working on a 2-to-1 ratio or a little higher, not a 1-to-1 ratio. So you shouldn't go, it should go, and then slow, quick and slow. It should not be a 1-to-1 ratio, okay? It's more like a 2-to-1 or a little bit higher. And again, if you want a faster split time as well, you can do a shorter row, right? So we practice that half or quarter, half, 3/4, and a full catch. So your split time can also be faster if you do a smaller slide, okay? So maybe a 3/4 slide, right? Especially if you're going faster, you might not have time to get into your full catch. But these are things that you need to practice and that you need to hone in and work on your skill. Definitely as a warm up and then row, get a camera, record yourself, critique your row. I like to use Coach's Eye, where you can record it and then you can slow it down. And not necessarily to just become a perfect indoor rower, but like I said, good form, good movement, you're gonna have a great workout, right? Bad form, bad movement could lead to injury, and we don't want that. We want to avoid injury at all costs, okay? So I think I've covered it all, but if you have any questions about it, or if you own an indoor rower and you're not real sure where to use it, there's also a place on your menu. If you turn your screen on and go to more options, and where is it? Let's see. Go to information, go to more options, information, how to row. You click on that button and your machine will also teach you this rowing sequence and how to row. But I highly recommend that you learn some technique, and Ferb is wanting to speak today too, and get to know your machine and get to know the settings that you like. If you have any questions, you can email me at beintentionalbehealthy@gmail.com. So hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you're enjoying your indoor rowing machine, or if you're looking into getting one, that you understand that this is a great piece of equipment to add to your home gym. Okay, so take care. Have a great rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever time of day it is for you. And whatever you're going to do today, be intentional and be healthy. Take care.